I will now call the Tuesday, April the 9th, 2013 Committee of the Whole meeting to order. Roll call, Madam Clerk. Chief.
Councilwoman Fairclough McCormick, absent. Councilman Maldonado.
Here.
Councilman Shelley.
Here.
Councilwoman Waltman. Did you say me? Yes, ma'am. I'm here. Sorry. Councilman Williams.
Here.
Vice Mayor Burgess.
Here.
Mayor Bateman, absent.
Thank you. And folks, I know that maybe it didn't come out right, but there will be a time for public comment for anybody that wants to speak about annexation at the next meeting. There will be time set aside for public comment at that meeting. Tonight was simply a workshop to try to give the staff some direction. Thank you. All right, any additions, deletions, deferrals? None at this time. Update request. Car number 802. Gateway Animal Rescue, first golf tournament sponsorship. Staff report, please.
Gateway Animal Rescue Project is requesting the Mayor and Council support of sponsorship for their first golf tournament in the amount of $2,000. The event is to be held on April 13, 2013. Just looking for some simple direction on this. We got this request. I don't know, are they here? Vice Mayor, did you want to hear from them?
No, I think it's pretty simple. Okay. If they want to make a statement, they're more than welcome to. And Elizabeth Młyszynski's here representing them tonight. Any comments, concerns, questions from the council? Mr. Shelley.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The only concern I have is the precedence this it sets as far as making donations at the council level as a body for events such as golf tournaments and things of that nature. You know, I have no problem donating directly from my PR account to the organization. But the concern I have is that if we approve something like this tonight, that there's numerous golf tournaments and fundraising activities and events that take place in the city on a weekly basis. And so my concern is that we are now laying the precedence that for each and every one of those organizations to show up and ask the city of Homestead to be a sponsor, to buy a table, to enter a golf team. And if we say yes tonight, we almost have to say yes to everybody else after, because you can't, how are you going to differentiate between the organizations? Because they're all great organizations. They all do good things in the city of Homestead. But then at some point we don't have the money to keep funding it. So that's a concern that I have. You know, in the past when these requests have been made, we have, for the most part, all agreed to give or have voluntarily given out of our PR account toward the organization. So I guess that's the only concern that I have. As far as the organization, I have no issues with it. I think it's a great organization, does some great things. I'm more concerned about the precedence that this sets going forward, because if I say yes tonight, there's almost no way I can deny any additional person asking for money in the same capacity going forward and be fair across the board, because I can't differentiate between a good organization, one good organization from another. So that's the issue I raise.
Okay, and just to bring what he's talking about is that as I walked in tonight, the Mexican American Council is having their golf tournament and looking for sponsorship too. So, you know, that's one. A couple months ago, Joel Finari was here asking for money for Jenny Swim golf tournament. So it does happen quite frequently, and I do see your point. Any other questions, comments? Ms. Walden.
Thank you. My ears are stopped up, that's why I can't. But I have a real soft spot in my heart for this organization, as I'm sure Vice Mayor and others as well. Many of us, you know, have animals, and we all have animals in here tonight. But I have to say that I was trying to think back, and Mr. City Manager, I don't think that in a very long time that the city has sponsored anything like this, correct? For a very long time, except for city events that we're having. In other words, we help the Rodeo Association, but that's because they're part of our city and we own the rodeo grounds. I'll give you an example. I'm helping the ladies at SOS with the police department do a fundraiser for domestic violence and human trafficking. Now, I haven't come to the city and asked for a sponsorship either. So because of that, you know, I'm going to give donate something for myself, as Mr. Shelley said, but once we do it, it's going to be. I mean, I've got literally an inch and a half of mail, and almost all of them are asking me for money. So there comes a point where you just can't do anymore. But I'm there for you. I am.
Mr. Williams, anything?
No, and I hear what you all are saying, and but to be quite honest, there are some that already are in the budgetary line item that we have supported in the past. So but I do hear what you all are saying, and some of those items were put in prior to some of us even being elected, that it just kind of stayed in there. So I mean, I don't have an issue with it. Like anybody else, we're very limited. We get probably $4,000 a year for PR, and everybody wants in between, from 100 on up, and we only limited. Plus those monies to buy ads and any other thing that we are trying to support, and it's funds are just very limited, and so we may have to look at it at budget time to see how we perhaps deal with those these items that come up in this case. Thank you.
Mr. Melvin?
Is it something where if does the city manager have a budget or a line item or something where that you could make that decision without council?
Well, technically, I could make this decision. Since I've been here, any of these types of items I've brought to you, the manager has the authority to do this on his own, but if it's not your will to be spending taxpayer money on a particular item, I typically like some direction, so that's why this is not on for a formal vote as much as it is just general direction. If a majority of you are interested in making a donation to this organization, then I'm happy to do that, and we'll do it. It won't come out of your council budgets. It'll come out of the general fund in probably a contingency fund or another fund. But at the end of the day, if you don't want to do this expenditure, then I won't do it.
It's difficult because we're here basically to try to help out. And you have so many they're all nonprofit, and these fundraisers are simply for the fact that they're trying to address a serious concern here in the city that affects those lives that we say when we come up here and get elected that we want to try to help out. So it's like you want to help out, but you don't help out. So our heart says yes, but I guess our pockets say no, or we have to be aware of that. And I understand the concern that Councilman Shelley brings, where is that if we do it for one, that we start doing it for all. So I mean, I would be okay. I'm okay because there's just so much that happens. I mean, I could go case by case. I mean, even right now, there's a dog issue that's happening of a neighbor and looking for support. And I know an organization, but that's what they're trying to do, raise funds so they can continue to do this. Because if you go through regular veterinarian, it costs you an arm and a leg. People can't afford it. If you go through the county, good luck. They're limited, and they do as much as what they can. But they have something in place to help out. So I'm on the fence. If anything, I'm going to support them as well. But if you want to do it, I'm okay with it as well.
Mr. Attorney, I've got one question for you. With the sponsorship comes some privileges, such as golf and tickets to, I think it's to a dinner or a luncheon with a silent auction. How are we, with the way that things have turned down there at the Ethics Commission, are we even allowed to go do that, play in the golf tournament? And two, how do we determine who goes and to the golf tournament and to the luncheon? How are those things to be divvied up at this juncture with the language that we've gotten from them down there? Just so that if we do it, that I don't want myself or any colleagues or anybody getting in any trouble.
Certainly under the state ethics code and the county ethics code, if you receive a gift of a certain value, you'll have to disclose that. With respect to I guess how many awards you would get for an invitation to play golf or a ticket to play in the tournament or whatever perk that may be associated with participation, I think you all, as a council, can determine policy-wise how that's to be distributed. I think you've previously set some precedent with respect to the Speedway and tickets to certain race events and how you would allocate those through your city manager. Not that he would allocate
George gets to
those, but-
determine the foursome.
Not that your city manager would determine how they're
No, no.
dispersed, but
Right.
And the
No, I
decision that was
understand.
made then was each individual council member determines whether it's a justifiable public purpose. And so unless it's something,
Right.
and in this case, this isn't coming from a prohibited source, so if it's a public purpose, then that falls under one category. If it's not a public purpose, then it falls into another category. But you'd have to determine whether your attendance there is a public purpose.
Thank you. Mr. Shelley.
Mr. Vice Mayor, how, Mr. City Manager, in other cities, how do they deal with this? Because I'm with Councilman Maldonado, and I think that it's good to do good for the community and for the organizations in the community. Unfortunately, we are in tough economic times, and the money is not limitless, and we have to kind of pick and choose who gets it and who doesn't. And to me, that I like a fair process. I like to know, that we are following, that one organization is equally footed as another organization. And so, in prior cities and other cities, how have they handled this type of circumstance? Do they have a pot of money that they put together and it's first come, first serve as a line item in the budget for the whole year? Or how is this handled sometimes in other cities?
I kind of feel like that reminds me of that movie Groundhog Day with Bill Murray, where it's the same day over and over again, because I lived this with another elected body, and each month another group would come and ask for money, and at some point it puts everybody in a very difficult position of deciding what. And so in another city, the decision was made, we're going to allot during budget time a small amount of money for these types of organizations, and that we're going to set a process of application and award, and then if anything comes midstream, we're going to be disciplined about saying no.
Okay.
And so that policy and that practice, that procedure is only as good as the discipline of saying no each and every time somebody comes. Once you say yes, assuming you determine that kind of a process, then everything else kind of falls by the wayside. Some elected bodies prefer this method, and some prefer some sort of a formalized process, and some prefer none of this at all, with the philosophy that nonprofits, the public is taxed for, government services, and then the rest of their money should go to determining what nonprofits they want to support, that the elected body shouldn't be the one determining where their money should be donated to. But it really is a philosophical question.
Okay, thank you.
I guess one other question. They were here maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago, and requested some money for a project. Have they received that money or any of or that project moved
No,
forward?
there was really three pieces to their request, which you heard at the time, and the big one, the big issue was, should the city be involved in some sort of a lease with the property where kennels would be rehabbed, and then some sort of an operation would be conducted for animals there. We met with them with one meeting. There's still a bunch of questions, and some of the parties that needed to be there weren't there. So the commitment we made to them was to have another meeting to try to better understand what the proposal is before we bring that to you. And then the third piece, beyond what's on the agenda tonight, is some sort of a contribution towards the rehab of those facilities. And so we kind of saw that piece as the last piece, because if you decide you don't want a kennel there at all for whatever reason, then it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to be contributing towards the rehab. On the other hand, that certainly is going to be another opportunity for you to contribute to their organization. So it's really three pieces. This piece tonight, the actual kennel itself, and then the rehab contribution.
Thank you. Anything else from council?
I just need some
Yeah, I
direction.
know. Make sure there are no more questions.
I'll make a comment. This is so hard because, as I said before, it's every time you turn around, somebody's asking. And, you know, I understand we have the military appreciation, which is a citywide event. We have Martin Luther King breakfast. We have, we just helped with the rodeo with the book program that they do, but that's a city-owned facility. We do the 4th of July. We do the educational luncheon. You know, citywide events, that's just the norm that we do that. But when you start going outside, I'm telling you, you know, I've said this over and over and over about other things as well. Once you open the door, once you open that floodgate, it's hard to close it back down again. And, you know, it makes us feel bad because you want to do everything you can to help and raise money. And I know, as I'll say it again, with the police department and what I'm working with the sock hop, and I'll put a little plug in April 20th. You know, we're killing ourselves out there trying to get donations and trying to raise that money for women of domestic violence. So I think there comes a time when this council needs to take a stand and say, this is what we're going to do and this is what we can't do, and maybe it will start to cut down on some of the requests that we do get. So that's just my comment.
Comment. Vice Mayor?
Yes.
I don't know, maybe, Mr. Manager, we could figure out, let's look at it like this. Let's talk about this organization. This organization is providing a service that really, it is provided, but they adopt dogs. They take dogs that are been left or stranded, you know, whereas we're having as a city a difficult time to handle this. If there are nonprofits in the manner that they're serving the city, and we're not have a huge budget for, let's say, animal control, maybe we could create kind of a budget or a line item that would help organizations like this to help the community, because that is a service to the community. Just having, you know, they're doing it in another way, and so maybe we could go, you know, try something like that, create a budget item that says, and then how you figure what that is the $1 million question, but I guess related to a service that's being back then. I mean, they're all services. They're all services, you know, at some point. So I guess the question would, the magic question would be, how do you use this? Pick and choose, which is what you say. But
I feel your pain. I understand it.
I'm okay with it.
Judy's got one
One
comment.
one quick thing, and I'll stop. Years ago, or maybe not so many years ago, we had a special fund. And Carlos, you might want to check on this from way back, but I think it was $10,000, and we had members of the community that it was special. It was the special. Dr. Tanton, do you remember? It was the special events. I think Bernice was part of that, and people had to go to that committee of citizens, and they asked for funding. But when the money was gone, the money was gone, and it worked quite well. It's a good idea to maybe bring that back, but I believe the amount was $10,000, if I remember correctly. And it really worked well, but you had to plan ahead, and you couldn't pop up at the last minute and say, on Saturday we're doing so-and-so, because the money was well thought out and planned, and word went out and people would come, and it worked very well. So something this council may want to think about. And it wasn't for our city events, it was exactly what we're talking about today.
Mr. Williams.
Thank you. Let me see if I can speed this up a little bit. Okay, we have this applicant or person for this organization. I'll make the motion to fund it. And number two, I served on that special events committee. Yes, I did. And I think Mr. Shelley was the chairwoman, I think, on that committee prior to his election. It was a special event committee. And I think the allotted amount was like $25,000 in the budget or something like that. Yeah, but it came, organizations for this extended purpose, came and they had a worksheet formula by which, how does it support the community? We had a mechanism of how it was a rating system. And so I agree. I think we probably need, because of the amount of we get bombarded with sponsorships, it's probably a good idea to bring that board back so that they can just handle things just like this. And then once the money's gone, it's gone for that year. So I don't have a problem with that, but I think I think after this, then we need to have a formalized board. And I know the mayor appoints persons to boards and all that, so committees, but I think if we could put on the next agenda to perhaps reformalize that board and go through the process. But after this one, then we can do that for next year's budget, or however the council decides to do that. But I think that's for right now. We need to give this esteemed manager some direction on this particular one. I don't have a problem making a motion to fund it.
I'll second it.
Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt. This is the...
Well, I know it's not, but we're
Just
giving
informal
directions
direction would be
for him
helpful.
to, well, in my terms of saying I make a motion, I know this is a council meeting, we can't make anything, but he's asking for us, and that requires us to be in the consensus. So, I'm quite aware of this is not a meeting that we can entertain motions and all that stuff. But to move the process forward, you do need some direction. So
Yes.
you have my support. And
Mr. Vice Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I agree with my colleagues, and I think that we need to put together a process and a procedure. I support that, and allotting a certain amount of line item budget funds at the beginning of every year, first come, first served, with a process to apply for and decide who gets those funds. So I have no issue with going forward, giving you direction to go forward and look at that and bring that back to us come the budget time. But I can't, again, handpick one group over another group and say this is the last group, when you have the Mexican American Council who has a golf tournament who would then want to come up, and how do we say, well, you missed the deadline by a day? I mean, it's a fairness
well,
issue.
it's fine. That was
It's
just
a fairness issue. So that's why I'm just expressing my opinion, though, so that when I vote against the motion, or give direction against the motion, that everyone understands my reasoning for it. It's nothing to do with a particular organization. It's all about the fairness of the process and not being able to handpick one group over another. So I do agree with going forward and putting together a group and set aside monies for this particular purpose. I think that we need that, but I can't support the idea of handpicking one group today and then shutting the door and saying no one else gets any money until we address this. I just think I have a fairness problem with that.
Mr. Vice Mayor, let me restate.
I thought you were going to speed this up.
What I'm saying is, based on the cow meeting, this is not a formalized motion, so it wouldn't be tying us and to anything else. In my words that I use loosely, this may be the last group. Technically, even though we say that, or I may say that, or however, it's still going to come. So based on that, this is not anything that will tie us that this will be the last group. An effort to move things along and say it's kind of impossible now to stop in midstream to say we're not going to support organizations when we do that. So that's why I recommended at the next budget cycle, we create this board, a lot of pot of money, and then we move on with whatever the process is. So let me restate what I'm trying to do. Fund this organization that's here tonight, that's before us. And that's all I'm saying. And with that, Mr. Manager, you still have my support.
Thank you.
Mr. Vice Mayor. Just to speed the process up some more.
How do you put the clock on him?
No, I just wanted to say that the problem I have is that we're not in mid-process and that this is going to be group 5, 6, or 2, or 4 that we have granted these funds through, that this is group 1. This is the first time that we've done this in this fashion, in this form. And so the precedence that is being set tonight is the problem that I have, that once we set this precedence tonight by supporting a particular organization, we have opened Pandora's box from now until we decide to do this for a budget amendment or budget cycle at the next budget. So if this was the 3rd or 4th group, I would concur with you. I would say that that would be okay. But the problem is that in this manner, in this fashion, and with the council as a body voting to hand money to a not-for-profit, not for a specific event that is going to put the event on, but in fact just for general fundraising purposes, it is a first time we have done that since I've set up here that I can recall, and so that is the issue that I have. So I just want to make sure it's clear, and then I'm done. Thank you.
Mr. Vice Mayor,
Yes, sir.
then George, don't bring anything else back to us to make up with these type of things, because it's going to, what we're creating is, we're trying to create a legislative process in this. You're asking for us for guidance on this particular one, right? Right?
Yes.
And just to be clear, I have the authority to do this on my own, but I've decided not to do that since I've been here because what I've learned from previous experiences is when managers do this and electeds come to them individually and say, geez, I want this funded, I want that funded, and the next thing you know, the manager is doling out all kinds of money, and then people end up being unhappy. So my practice has been to bring each and every one of these to you, even though I have the authority to do it on my own. You're deciding on this doesn't conflict with the charter because I'm asking you whether you want to, if it's okay for me to spend this. But the truth of the matter is, if you say, from now on, don't consider any more nonprofits, don't even bring them to us, and don't fund them, I can follow that process. If you say to me, from now on, don't bring them, but decide on your own, as long as they fall within your spending discretion, which I'll do. Or if you want to establish a budgetary item for the next budget and a process, we can do that as well.
Right. So, but tonight,
But tonight, this is basically, I can do this, but I won't do it unless a majority of you feel this is an appropriate way to spend taxpayer money.
so let me, for the 3rd time, have my support for this. And going forward, I guess we can legislate this throughout the budget next year, however, but tonight, I think we beat this good. So, if we,
I think whenever George asks for direction, we don't give it.
I'm getting the microphone.
I guess, yes. Okay.
I love you, Jimmy. I get a problem because I've already received a letter from the Mexican-American Council asking for sponsorship. So now, where do they fall? And even though their brochure is printed here, and they have our City of Homestead logo on it, I just checked, and as far as we know, we've not committed any money. Have we, Carlos?
I would have to check to be certain, but it doesn't come to mind. No, it doesn't.
I don't remember either. But they use our City of Homestead logo as well as Dade County and the City of Florida City. And I also have a request from Sweetvine. Did y'all get that letter too? I have a request from Sweetvine. It was in my mail. I didn't bring it with me, but they're asking for a sponsorship. So that's 3 sponsorships this week alone that I've been asked for. So, I just don't know what to do. And I apologize to you, Mr. Williams, because I was going back years back when it was the $10,000 one, and I'd forgotten about the one that you served on. But I'm beginning to think that would be our better bet, is to have an outside people, and we don't make the decision. I'd either vote for that or just to have the manager make the decisions. So, and I think the manager would rather have the other, but.
I would not vote for that option.
So I like the idea of it.
And as we move forward, I think we need to, we could go back and forth for days here.
yeah. Let me preface this statement. When the Mexican-American Council came before this August body, I think not last year, maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, for the CRA dollars, I said then, if we're going to do this, we're opening up Pandora's box. We funded them last year. We gave them money last year, I think almost quite a bit, if I remember. I don't know the total amount. If Rick here, do you remember the amount? Oh, I don't know if he was a CRA director then. But we opened then. I warned this council. I served warning on you all. I said, if we do this tonight, we are opening up a floodgate. And here we are tonight, trying to close it. But, you know, I agree with everything, and Ms. Wallman, I love you too. And I understand the dilemmas that we are, because I only got about $500 left in my PR account, and that's already been encumbered. So I don't have anything else left to give. So, you know, I think in moving forward, the only best way we're going to do this, or to have some kind of control, is for that board to come back. But then that doesn't stop what we already have now. So.
Yes, ma'am.
Through the chair, can't we, all these requests that we get, because I know we get this little tiny PR account, and I mean, it goes.
Right.
Because you're given to everybody. But couldn't we somehow or another turn that over to that committee as well to make those decisions? Or, I don't know, that's something we can talk about later, but I love the idea of bringing that back.
Yeah. But as far as tonight, what are we going to do?
Unfortunately, they know I love them to death, and I do everything I can to help them in other ways, but unfortunately, because of the precedent set, I can't. But I'm going to donate personally.
Okay. So, Mr. Vice Mayor, that's 2-2.
Yes, sir. I'm for donating to them.
So am I.
I guess we're,
Well,
Thank you.
majority says move forward with the donation. And open up the floodgates.
All right, let's move on.
Okay. Moving on, card number 788, Education Advisory Request to consider safety issues at Homestead Schools. Attitude. Staff report, please.
Councilman Maldonado requested that the Mayor and Council discuss the Education Advisory Board's recommendation to encourage schools to take adequate measures to protect students in light of the shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary in Connecticut. And we're looking for some direction here for us to start delving into these issues. And obviously, there's a whole lot of questions that we need to start looking at if that's your interest. Councilman?
Thank you, Mr. Manager, Vice Mayor. It's simple, you know, I am the liaison for the Education Committee. They had a meeting, it was brought up by one of the members, discussed, made motions, and brought it forward. And even though the request, I think Dr. Trantom's here, maybe, I don't know if you want to say a few items in regards to what happened, what we discussed there, how we got to there, but moving forward, I think, no pun intended, it's a loaded question. Obviously, after Sandy Hook, the question has been brought forward to us from different angles. And, you know, they come to us looking for an answer. And so this committee took initiative to say this is what we think is good for, what we believe is good for the city of Homestead, for our residents. I'll let Jim kind of share, you know, the tone of what happened there, and then I'll come back and follow up with afterwards. Jim?
I'm sorry. Can I
Yes,
say
sir.
something very quick? Jim, this has to do with what you gave me at the last time we met.
Yes, it's
And
in
I-
the monitor, the whole letter is in the
Right.
monitor that you
Well,
got.
let me just say, I do support this, Jim, and I do have to leave, but I wanted to state that for the record, that I am supportive of what you are doing.
Mr. Williams, can you give me 2 minutes before you run out so the quorum stays here, please?
if we do?
I don't think, you need, but there's no voting. Oh, I got you. What? All right.
I'll be back. You're gonna have to ask Jimmy to wait as well. But if you would, Mr. Francis.
Sure, the state is going to vote on whether or not to have teachers carry guns. If you don't know, if you haven't read, you don't understand what's going on right now. I thought this was just in South Dakota, but there's a movement to have teachers armed. My wife's a teacher. You don't want her to carry a gun. She come home frustrated one night and take it out on me. No, I don't know where she's going to carry that gun. But we do have to be proactive, I believe. And as far as this being a jurisdictional matter, I don't believe it is. I believe that we as a city are responsible to take care of and watch out for our citizens, and whether they're 6 years old or 60 years old, they're one of our citizens of Homestead, and they need to be protected. And this is a way that is revenue neutral, doesn't cost us anything, will not cost the school board anything extra than what they're spending now for what they call security monitors, except that the Education Committee is recommending that we have every school in Homestead have a certified officer, not a rent-a-cop, not somebody that takes a 40-hour course or whatever the state's recommending, but somebody that's a certified officer. Part-time can be 4 hours in the morning, could be another one 4 hours in the afternoon. Wouldn't cost any more than it would cost to have what they call security monitors right now, sitting at a desk taking names. But if we don't move on this as a city and already have established what we consider practical and the right thing to do for our citizens, somebody else will. And if they put this thing in with teachers carrying guns, you just don't, as an educator, an administrator in public schools for 30 years, I can tell you that I didn't find 2 teachers in all that time I want to see carrying a gun. And those were probably officers already retired, or maybe someone from the military that understood what they're doing. So it's really important, I think, that we step out and at least make this first step that, for example, any school that opens from now on in Homestead should have to have a full-time certified security officer when there's children in the school 180 days a year. And then the rest of the ones, after they do their budget for this year, starting in August, can pick up a full-time or part-time security. And we don't care whether they're plain clothes or whether they're in fatigues with a gun. That's not our job. That's not what we were looking for. We're just looking for some sentinel in that school that will not allow someone to come on campus with a weapon. That's what we're looking for. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Dr. Trantham. And if you're not aware, the House Bill 1097 is what is in discussion right now, and it's actually passed through some of its committees, and it's being they're working on it right now, and it looks promising. It seems to be a thought-out plan, and so we don't know what's going to happen there, but this is something that's happening, and again, I just wanted to bring it to the council, and let's start talking about
and the
it.
direction that we're asking for is, because we don't know how best for you to manifest your support of this, assuming that you support this, is that we need to find out, does the city have the authority to impose some sort of an ordinance? If not, can the city pass some sort of resolution supporting this or urging whatever appropriate body to do something? So if you're comfortable with us looking at this and coming back to you with either a resolution that supports some type of action or an ordinance, we'll have all the research done for you and bring it back if that's your will.
Yeah, and I think that was the discussion that they had, you know, what can, and that's what I brought up. I was like, listen, you know, there's jurisdictions, there's ordinance, we don't know what we can and can't do, but what we do have is the resources with staff, with council, to bring back an answer. And that's what is going, that's my goal, and that's what I told this committee that I would do. So with that, Mr. Manager, I appreciate it, and I think that's what we'd like, an answer on what we can do. Let us know what our boundaries are, what actions can we take.
Sure.
Also look into what's happening, in essence to the state. There's discussion of getting funding, the state providing funding, and, you know, kind of go from there. I think we could also, you know, continue to have this conversation as well.
We'll rely on the expertise of the city attorney's office, and we'll get back to you as soon as we have an answer.
Anyone else?
I agree with you. I think it's something we need to look at, be educated on, and look at all options as we move forward to protect the young children and all children that are there. Mr. Shelley? All right, thank you, Mr. Williams. You're a gentleman. So I think the direction is to move forward with it, Mr. Manager. You're clear on? Yes. Okay. Thank you. March 12th, 2:13 minutes. I will entertain a motion for approval of the March 12th, 2013 minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Next item. Place car number 797 on council agenda. Chrome Avenue Truck Bypass Preferred Alternate. I'll entertain a motion to place number 797 on council agenda.
Move it.
Moved
Second.
and seconded. Staff report.
Vice Mayor, at the council's meeting on August 22nd, 2012, resolution was passed in support of the preferred alternative L. Subsequently, FDOT made a presentation before the council at its March 20th, 2013 meeting in order to present an alternative route. At this meeting, FDOT presented alternative F, which would direct truck traffic from Chrome Avenue to Campbell Drive, then along US 1 and returning to Chrome Avenue at Davis Parkway. Council requested that the existing resolution in support of preferred alternative L be changed to preferred alternative F, consistent with council direction. Staff recommends the mayor and council consider amending the attached resolution to change the preferred alternative for the proposed Chrome Avenue truck bypass from L to F, as was discussed at council's meeting on March 20th, 2013.
Questions, comments? Yes, ma'am.
I hate to be the one to start this off, but am I right, Julio, in that this route takes you from Chrome Avenue with a turn onto Campbell Drive off of Chrome, going east?
Correct. The route goes from southbound Chrome to eastbound Campbell, again left turn at that intersection that you're talking about, and then heading south on US 1 from Campbell down to Davis Parkway.
Okay, I mean, I remember talking about this at the meeting in depth, and I just still can't see how those trucks are going to make that turn. And
Well,
I know they need to do an expansion and all that, but
well, what this does, it gives DOT the directive to move forward with developing that design. And according to the DOT staff that was here at the last presentation, basically that would entail some geometry redesigning that intersection in order to allow trucks to be able to make those, both a left turn when they're heading southbound and also a right turn when they're going westbound to northbound.
and as I recall, they committed to that, but they didn't commit to redoing that whole section.
Yes,
Okay.
this does include also the widening of lanes from Chrome all the way to US 1 along Campbell Drive. And turning it, they have to do that basically by Florida law. When they convert this road to a commerce-friendly roadway, they have to bring it up to those standards. And that includes widening of the lanes, it includes making the turns workable so that trucks can maneuver around without impeding into other lanes or other traffic
But
patterns.
correct me if I'm wrong, when we had the meeting, and I remember asking the question, there's no way that they can keep the trucks from still going down Chrome Avenue.
Once this truck bypass is adopted and DOT changes the designation of Campbell Drive and US 1, the whole, basically the truck bypass corridor, at that point, it is enforceable, and the portion of Chrome Avenue that used to be a DOT roadway would be turned over to the city, and we would have jurisdiction over it. We could close it down if we wanted to. I mean, it could
Right, I
become a
stand
pedestrian
corrected.
roadway if we wanted to at that point.
And what's the time frame on this?
It's a very long process. We're at the very first stages of it. According to their, what they call the pipeline of projects, it's approximately 7-year project, 7-year span.
I just remember Mr. Burgess one time, he says, let's put speed bumps, that'll keep them off of there. Remember that? Or turnaround, you want to do a turnaround
Yeah,
or
do a
something?
turnaround.
But okay, I stand corrected, because
Yeah,
I
it
was
is
thinking
enforceable.
that we couldn't enforce it even when it was done. Okay.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but don't they have to come back to us with their conception drawings and all that, and we still have to approve that?
Oh, yeah, there's many steps from
So
here
they'll
to
be
that
back-
point.
They'll be back many times.
There'll be many design review meetings, both with the public and with, staff, not only from the city, but from the county, et cetera, to ensure that everybody sees the design process. Usually what they do is at 30% design, at 60, at 90, and then a final. And at all those points, comments can be heard and addressed if necessary.
Questions or comments? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion to place car number 754. I will entertain a motion to place car 754 on the council agenda. City of Homestead surplus property. Do I hear a motion? And is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Staff report, please.
Several city departments through fleet and procurement have determined that the attached list of items and vehicles have outlived their usefulness and are no longer adequate for their intended purpose. Due to this fact, these items will be auctioned off as surplus. It's the staff's recommendation that mayor and council approve the attached resolution and authorize the city manager to surplus the attached list of vehicles and miscellaneous items that will be sold by means of online auction or disposed of by other authorized procedures. This is in accordance with the City of Homestead Code, Section 2-440, surplus property.
Questions or comments? Go ahead, Mr. Millman.
I was approached and asked about this. In the process, for instance, residents that are looking to purchase some of the surplus, what would be the process? What would they have to do in order to attend the auction? Do you guys give that information? Where's that information at? And who could be a part of it?
Vice Mayor and Council, yes, the procurement department actually places the items on the internet. We send out a mass email to all city employees. If somebody, a resident or a citizen is interested, they can notify us. We can email them directly also. We put it on the Renee Bates auctioneers. So basically anybody in basically the country can participate in the auction.
So is that link sent out, or is it already available on our website?
We have it on the website, and we also send it out. So if you like, I can actually notify you exactly where the link's on the website.
Thank you, that's all.
Thank you. Could we perhaps highlight that as it goes out so that it kind of grabs people's attention or anything on the website? So
Absolutely.
it's much easier, so people don't have to dig around through the different pages to find it.
At least through the process.
Not a problem. I'll talk to the PIO, and we'll make sure we get it up on the
Ask
front
if
of the
we
page.
maybe add it to our other media, the Facebook and Twitter, whatever else we're using these days.
Absolutely, will do.
Thank you.
Mr. Vice Mayor?
Mr. Shelley.
Just a quick question. Just looking through the list of things, I noticed that some of them are not super old and they don't have a lot of mileage on them. Are those, I assume, wrecked then? Vehicles that have been in accidents or been...
Correct. They're vehicles that have been involved in car accidents. They've already gone through risk management. They've already gone through the whole insurance process. It's been determined by fleet that, you know, it's not worth repairing these vehicles anymore.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving on. Car number 798, do I have a motion to place car number 798 on council agenda, CDBG Citizens Participation Plan?
Was tab
Could you
6?
check, I think you skipped the tab.
Did I skip which one?
Tab 6?
Oh, okay, well, we'll go back to that.
Okay.
We'll entertain a motion for car number 801, to place on council agenda travel expense prohibition waiver. I can't even say it.
Move it.
Move and second. Staff report.
Vice Mayor, city vendors and service providers have extended invitations to the city council and certain staff to attend meals hosted in whole or in part by those vendors or service providers in conjunction with the conferences listed in the attached resolution. Section 2-11.1W of the Miami-Dade County Code of Ethics generally prohibits city officers and employees from accepting any travel expenses, including but not limited to meals from any city vendor or service provider. However, that provision also recognizes that such restriction may be waived by majority vote of the city council. Mayor and council have in the past approved the attached resolution, which enables city vendors and service providers to host city council and certain staff members at dinners being held in conjunction with various conferences. This waiver is authorized by section 2-11.1W, prohibition on acceptance of travel expenses of the Miami-Dade County Code of Ethics.
Thank you. The one comment that I do have, and I've spoken to the clerk's office about this, is perhaps we should put this on the annual January council meeting. That way everybody's taken care of for the year, and if somebody attends something before this is written, they're not in any possibility of getting in some sort of trouble. So perhaps if the clerk could
Yes,
take note of that.
We are going to do that for you for next year, absolutely.
Thank you.
Question.
Any questions, comments?
Did we already have this, did we pass this or agree to this in the past already?
Yes.
Okay, so we were covered and it's now
Yes.
renewal. So it's just renewal. Okay.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, now we'll go to tab number 7. Motion to place car number 798 on council agenda. CDBG Citizens Participation Plan. Do I hear a motion?
I'll motion it.
All right, there's been a motion and a second. Staff report, please.
The Community Development Block Grant Program requires that the City of Homestead prepare a 5-year consolidated plan which includes a citizens participation plan. The new CPP will be a more comprehensive document that will be a guide to staff and provide a clear outline of city CDBG processes to the community. Staff recommends the Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution repealing the current Citizens Participation Plan that was adopted on May 19, 2008, and approve the new Citizens Participation Plan.
Questions, comments? Hearing none? Seeing no questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Next item. Thank you. Sorry to make you sit through all that for that. Parks and Recreation. Motion to place car number 794 on council agenda. Waiver of fees. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Staff report, please.
Miami-Dade County would like to partner once again with the City of Homestead to present the 2013 Adopt a Tree event on July 27, 2013, the Harrisfield Pavilion. Miami-Dade County is requesting the Mayor and Council authorize the City Manager to approve a waiver of usage fees in the amount of $340 for the use of Harrisfield Pavilion on July 27, 2013, to host the 2013 Adopt a Tree event. According to the city's code, chapter 20, section 20-11, fees and charges, city council sets fees and has the right to waive parks and recreation fees by a majority vote.
Questions or comments? Hearing none, seeing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item, tab 9, Public Safety. Motion to place car 795 on council agenda. Department of Corrections Mutual Aid Agreement. Staff report. Or is there a motion?
Motion.
Second? Been made. First, second. Staff report, please.
Staff recommends the mayor and council approve the attached resolution and authorize the city manager to enter into the attached mutual aid agreement between the City of Homestead Police Department and the Florida Department of Corrections. Mutual aid agreement renewal enables the Homestead Police Department to be able to continue the use of Special Canine Tracking Unit of the Florida Department of Corrections.
Questions or comments? Hearing none, seeing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Moving on, tab number 10. Discussion item. And if everybody will please remember, we were, just a quick reminder, asked to bring 2, 3, 4 things at most, and this was going to be a 30-minute discussion, no longer than 30 minutes.
Mr. Vice Mayor? I don't know, do we want to postpone this to the next CAL when we have a full council? Because I think the concept here was to give direction to our code enforcement officers and code enforcement departments. I'm willing to have the discussion tonight anyways, but I just want to make sure that we have a consensus of the council as far as direction so that we don't do this again another day when we don't have the full council here. Just for consideration.
And Vice Mayor, if I could add, because we have been getting conflicting direction with all 7 of you, it really would be helpful to have all 7 of you here to make some decisions on priorities, because we're kind of feeling a little on the...
I'm not ready to go home. My son is sick. I don't want to go home and get sick. No, if it's the will of the majority, then to table this, and I would like to send my apologies to Crystal and Captain Graham, who sat here patiently waiting. Then that's what we'll do, if that's what the majority wants to do.
We'll table it. I'm okay with tabling it.
I'm willing to discuss it tonight, but I also think that we'll get better direction for them if everybody is here
Yep.
to discuss
All right.
it.
Well, like I said, my apologies to them for making them sit through this wonderful evening. And with that, we'll move it, I guess, to the next committee of the whole, which we were going to do anyway. I think we were going to do several of these
Right.
as we
Continuing.
moved along.
Maybe we can move that forward to make up for
Yeah. Okay. Well, perhaps we could have another wonderful workshop.
No.
But limited, like we said when we started this process, limited to 30 minutes per discussion. I mean, we could stay here for hours.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can we do as Councilman Maldonado said, and make sure that they're up on the agenda?
Yeah, we can
so
move
that-
them, we
so that
could
they don't
start
have
it.
to sit.
I don't know what we have, if Rick's bringing one of his famous meetings to us next month, or what, where we need to start at noontime, but, I'm not sure what it means, but if we can, perhaps we could start early with them, 30 minutes earlier than the council at 5 o'clock, I mean, the committee of the whole at 5 o'clock, or be the first item on the agenda. So, whatever works when we get things set.
Okay.
Whatever gets us all here at one time. I know that was the problem with the workshops is that we don't always make the workshops as a whole unit
Well, we got some extenuating circumstances.
tonight, yeah. So,
I think we've got one gentleman with flu or some sort of illness, and Councilwoman McCormick bringing her husband home from the hospital, so.
right.
We just got cut off.
With that being said, motion to adjourn,
Move.
or, excuse me, anything from the manager before we adjourn? Any business?
Business? No.
Okay. Quiet down. Anything from the attorney? Okay. I would like to say congratulations to Chief Roll. We have somehow talked him into 3 more years. I told him today his wife needed to have him Baker acted. But thank you, Chief, for your dedication to the city and all of its residents. Thank you. So with that, yes, ma'am.
Not that there's a lot of people here, but I just want to remind everybody that this Friday night at White Lion, we're having a happy hour from 5 to 7 regarding the SOS sock hop that I'm working on. And Vivian, I'm going to ask you if you could please send out a notice to the employees telling them about this happy hour, because we're going to be selling tickets there. We're going to have 50s music. We're going to have a lot of fun, but it's really important that we sell tickets. So you police, I see a lot of captains in the audience tonight. Please, please talk to your officers. We're giving a discounted rate to the police officers. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's April 20th. We got some unexpected sponsorships in today that my dear friends, some of my dear friends came through. So we've got a lot of sponsorships now, but we need more auction items, and the happy hour is going to be a lot of fun. So Friday night at White Lion, and we're going to be on the radio this Thursday night and next Thursday night. So anybody that wants to come over and hang out with us at Keg South about 7 o'clock and cheer us on with Dougie from Thunder Country, we'd love to have some police officers there. I think that would say a lot to the patrons who are in Keg South to know that we've got your support. So thank you, Vice Mayor.